Hello, this is Dr. Darrell Green. This is Mktg 3343. This is sales management. And this is our finale of our presentations. Our students for the last 8 weeks have been working on a simulation, giving them as much practical experience they can. They had created bikes. They were competing against each other, market forces. I had to break them apart. They were about to fight, but we had a great time. We do have our reviewers. So we're gonna have the teams present. So we're gonna start with team 2. They're gonna present, followed by team 1 and then team 3. So team 2, you're up.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen. Okay, can everybody see that?
You're good.
Okay, great. Okay, so we are team 2. Our company name was Bike 360, and pictured from left to right, we have Noah, myself, Taryn, Tyler, and Joseph.
All right, so real quick with a company overview, our company name was Bike 360. The president, VP brand management was Taryn Weber. The VP of sales management and finance was Noah Velser. And then VP of advertising, internet marketing was both me and Tyler. And then on to real quick our agenda. So we're going to start off by just a quick overview of what the simulation actually is, and then our plan, which is the Bike 360 push. We're going to go into results, the firm's future, and then in conclusion. So real quick on the simulation background. So basically we were told to sell 3D printed bikes. We had 3 markets to choose from: North America, Europe, Latin America, Middle East, Asia, and Pacific. So then in these markets, we had various market segments that we tried to target and try to just make the people in those segments like happy. So for example, we had mountain and speed. If we were to create a mountain bike, we would probably go with, like more rugged tires versus speed is more speed tires, try to be more lightweight, just to kind of accommodate the people in those segments. And then everything was graded on a balanced scorecard. That's just a way for them to kind of tell us what our total performance was. Some of the sections were market performance, market effectiveness, investment in firm's future. You'll see more of that in the results page. And we got Noah next with biggest decisions.
So throughout the simulation, we were kind of trying to navigate how we should operate and what things we should do and not do. So for some of the biggest impactful decisions we made that turned out well, we invested in some research and development things. Like you can see on the right side, I've pointed out that we had, the upgraded carbon fiber as well as the upgraded tires. And this kind of served us well throughout the end of the quarter, towards the end of the simulation. We also did a good job of managing our money, as you'll see later on the balanced scorecard, because we did well in that aspect. And we also saved for the future. Like, again, you'll see on the balanced scorecard when I get into that next slide. We just I think we paced it a little too slow in terms of how much to invest and how much to, go for it. As far as impactful decisions that negatively affected us, I don't think we got into all the regions fast enough. Like Joseph mentioned earlier, there's 4 regions, and we kind of navigated that a little on the slow side. So we didn't get there fast enough, in my opinion, and we kind of all came to that conclusion. And we also struggled with projecting our demand. So I don't know how much that played into the simulation, because it wasn't as detailed as some of the other ones we had a chance to look at, but it definitely was something we struggled with throughout. And now I'll get into the results. So yeah, as you see here, this is the balanced scorecard that Joseph mentioned. We are pictured right there. Those 2 red circles are what we did the best out of all 3 teams. So like I said, we managed our money well, as you can see with our financial performance. We finished, middle of the pack as far as total performance. So we didn't do too well there, but we definitely invested in the future more than any other team, as you can see. So I think that if we had more time to kind of let things play out, we did a good job, but we didn't do it fast enough. So that's kind of where we lacked, if you will. And now I'm going to pass it to Taryn.
So I wanted to go into some of our achievements that we got to experience throughout the simulation. So we were the only company to reach a 90 grade on an ad judgment. So we were really proud of our ads in that aspect, and that was in the speed. Our company generated more than 1 million sales in a quarter, which was really big for us when we had only opened in 2 of the regions and we were really hitting our sales mark. We did end up opening in all 3 regions, and we ended up making profit in our financial performance. So what we wanted to show you guys is what we would do if we would have had more quarters to finish this simulation. So as you can see, we were leading the investment in future pretty much the entire simulation, as pointed out on our balanced scorecard. And we really think that we would have seen more results from our research and development if we would have had more quarters to kind of see that profit come back with the return on investment, and also open more stores. Like Noah said, get there faster, probably be more aggressive from the front end with opening stores, and creating better bikes instead of more bikes would have probably helped us a lot. And we would have cleaned that up as we would have gotten forward with more quarters. So some lessons learned. Something that I learned was being aggressive in a simulation like this, kind of starting out really strong instead of testing the waters probably would have benefited us a lot, because you can do more with seeing what happened. Whereas if you don't do enough, you don't see the results from that.
And then my lessons learned was definitely to recheck the ads every couple of weeks, because I had ads that I set up very early and didn't check until like week 6, and they were doing horrible. So just keep checking up on the ads as things are introduced to the markets.
And the biggest thing that I was able to take away from the simulation was that you got to be there first. I mean, that's really what it comes down to in a simulation like this, is if everyone else is in a place and you're not there yet, then you're just kind of beaten to the punch.
So in conclusion, we worked really well as a team. We really sat down and discussed our decisions instead of just doing them. We really thought it out. We believe that our results don't reflect our effort or ideas, because we really did put a lot of thought into some of the stuff that we did. And like Joseph said, we're really happy with our ad performance. And he was in charge of ads, and we did get that 90 rating on the ad judgment. And I think that if we would have been earlier in the market with our great ads, it would have paid off with our advertising if we would have had more of the market to sell to. And like I said, in the future, we would have continued to grow positively based on the decisions we've made. And now we'll open it up to the first question.
Okay, thank you so much. Your presentation was 6 minutes and 43 seconds. We're going to start with Mr. Bill, and then we'll move up with Ms. Taylor. Mr. Bill, you on mute.
Yeah, I know, I got it. I'm working on
Dr. Holden, okay.
I look big, but it's a small screen. So first of all, you know, every team I've ever had always says that the results don't reflect the hard work we put in. And I will promise you that I've only had somewhere in the neighborhood of 150 employees tell me that at one point in my career. Okay. So a better way to approach that when you start talking about that is saying that we didn't recognize what we needed to do on results early enough to be able to do the changes that were needed. I think your presentation overall was really good. I think you provided all the key points for someone to evaluate where you've been and what it took to get there. But it's also, I didn't, on your lessons learned, I didn't see a path forward. And I think that could have been, I know it's a class that ends, but in business, it never ends.
Good points. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bill. We'll have Ms. Taylor.
First of all, great job on your slideshow. I thought it had a lot of brand consistency. I really liked the logo that you put together, and everything seemed to be aligned correctly. So good job on that. One question I have is, could you give me more insight on your strategy, like what markets you went into and so forth?
Yeah, we went into the North America region with New York and kind of opened there. And we really wanted to try to tackle that market early. And we did that because it takes, in the simulation, it takes 2 quarters to start running the store because you have to open it and then you have to hire the salespeople and get it running. So we tried to do that early, but we only did it with one. So we really wanted to take over in that sense, but we kind of took a more passive route for that. And I think that if we would have taken over more stores, it would have helped. But I think we really wanted to get in a store and really dominate in that sector with our bikes and then move from there was our initial strategy.
Dr. Holden?
Yeah, I came on kind of mid-screen, so
Okay.
I don't have
Okay.
questions this time, but I'll be ready for the next one.
Okay, so just to clarify, they're working over 8 quarters. A quarter is a year. So they're working over 8 years. So this is 8 years worth of results, okay? This is also called rapid fire. So we expect our reviewers to give them, I don't know, 20 to 30 seconds comments and referrals, and they're supposed to respond. We want to see how well they can do that. So great job. Let's give team 2 a virtual reaction. So look at the bottom, give them something. Like, I'll give them love, whatever, give them something. That's come on, play. All right, here we go. Next up is team 1. Team 1, you're on.
Alrighty, I'll try and share my screen here. Alrighty, is that showing?
You're good.
Awesome. Alrighty, I'm gonna let BJ take it away to start.
All right. So, hi, my name is BJ, and this is Team 1, and our company name was Cycle 1. And I'm gonna get started on this. Well, the people on our team are James, Whitney, Trevor, and me. So let's get started with this. So our agenda for today is to go over the company overview, the marketing strategy, the results, our lessons learned, and the final thoughts of the simulation. So here's our team, and our president was James Stout. Our advertisement brand / management was Whitney. Our internet marketing / business analytics was Trevor, and I was the sales management and advertisement vice president. And I will pass it off to Whitney. She's not here right now, but she recorded her voice, so we're gonna play it.
Yeah, and I'm gonna play this. Let me know if it's not playing on y'all's computers. I'm not really sure.
So a little bit about our strategy. Our first was communication.
That's good.
We really had to work hard to make sure that everybody knew what jobs that needed to be done and when. So we actively communicated both in class and outside of class to get the job done, as well as our market share. We quickly, which we'll go over later in the presentation, tackled all of the markets. So we introduced bikes as quickly as we could into each market segment and in each marketplace. Our finance, we wanted to spend money to make money, but we also thought conservatively, which helped us out in the end run. Then lastly, competition. We wanted to evaluate what our competitors were doing and make certain that our brands were meeting the standards that they were doing, as well as what our customers needed.
Awesome. Alrighty. And yeah, I'm James. I was the president over the team for the simulation. I'm going to talk a little bit about our results, kind of what we did, what's impressive maybe about what we did, and then what our shortcoming was, or what we see as our large shortcoming. So results right here. I think my screen should still be shared, but we're the first team to have a 100% market share in youth. Collectively controlled 70+% of the market share to begin the simulation, which I think Dr. Green said had not been done before. So really we came out swinging, right, is the point of why I'm telling those two things. We came out wanting to get such an advantage to where it would be difficult for teams to catch us. And I think we did that really well in the beginning. We're the first team to have a profit. And again, we maintained the greatest wealth accumulation leading into, toward the end of the simulation. But however, right, we didn't finish well, and I'll kind of explain why we see that. So, you know, I see that as the research and development portion, which the last team talked about just briefly. And so basically what this was you were able to spend money, you know, in effort to make your product better. So one thing that I personally believed our team should do is benchmark, big time on benchmarking, especially in the simulation, because all this data is available to every team. Well, you know, I believe we did that real well until research and development. And I say that because in the beginning, the research and development was not looking profitable for the teams. As quarters, you know, I think it came available, I don't know, toward 4 or 5 of the last quarters. But anyways, in the beginning of research and development, it looked like sunk cost. It didn't look like it was doing much. And so as a team, we kind of just decided, okay, you know what, we're gonna wait, because, you know, whether or not it is a good idea to do it, the other teams haven't figured it out. And so they're wasting money. We don't want to waste money. And so that was our initial plan. So as you can see in this table here, I just went ahead and put our cumulative balance scorecards for every quarter that it was available. And so as you can see, our team was in the lead all the way until quarter 7. And then that's when team 1 or 3 pedals overtook us. And it was a significant jump. And we personally believe that was, you know, mainly due to the R&D. Because quarter 6, they took a huge advantage in catching up with us. Quarter 7 jumped, quarter 8 even further. And so despite our large market share and hot start, not taking advantage of that really hurt us in the long run. And so that being said, you know, moving forward, especially, you know, should the simulation continue, we would immediately invest in R&D, because our market share wasn't too bad. Our products were still all right. Our profitability was very good. And I think our next slide we're going to talk a little bit about that. Yeah. So here's our creation of wealth and our profitability per product. So as you can see, one thing that we were pretty proud of is our profit per unit, which is on the bottom of the slide here. And it kind of just lists across for all of our bikes. And, you know, our profit per unit was pretty high. We were proud of our profit per unit. And then of course our quarterly profit. And so that's what that top section is. And so those were 2 things, you know, we were happy with. But again, could have been so much better should we have taken advantage of that R&D. So I think I'm going to pass it off to Trevor here.
Yeah, so as James just got done saying, here's some lessons that we learned. James, he learned obviously more in depth the concept of communication. He just obviously listed a ton of information for all of us in such a way that we all understood it. And because of that, because of his leadership skills, I learned that a good team leader can accomplish his goals by recognizing his team's strengths. James is a really analytical guy, takes in the numbers and understands it. And so that's what he was in charge of. And because of that, he allowed us to use our skills for other areas of this simulation. BJ, he learned how to work with the team and communicate effectively. You know, you saw how good he is at that when he introduced everybody. And Whitney, unfortunately, she's not here with us right now, but she learned how to work with the team to accomplish a specific goal. Marketing specifically to buyers' needs is a concept that she will take into the future. So we all got things out of this. And I think it all just comes down to a good leader. You're only as strong as your leader, you know? So that's what I learned. And then here are some final thoughts. In this marketing simulation, we analyzed research data. Mostly that was James, but with that data he analyzed, he allowed us, he filled us in with some information that we needed to make our own decisions. We designed brands to appeal to different market segments. That was more Whitney. She designed the brand. She made the bikes and just put us in those segments. We had to devise advertising campaigns and sales force plans and price options. That was another thing that James was really good at. Then, of course, we had to adjust strategy and tactics in response to financial performance. It's a very competitive simulation, especially with just 3 teams. And, you know, coming second out of 3, right in the middle of the pack, who knows? But I believe that if there's 10 teams in this group, we'd still be in the top 2. So that is my final thoughts.
And then just to expand for just a moment, you know, about the adjusted strategy and tactics, you know, back to kind of the benchmarking and just planning in general. Trevor was primarily in charge of putting us in different markets, and that was a huge part of why we were able to get such a hot start in the beginning. And so from that point, from getting this dominance in different markets that other teams might not have gone to, or maybe not as heavy into, that allowed us to then benchmark against their advertisements. And so once we were able to do that, we were able to at least be advertising as well, if not better, right? That's the goal. And so that's what allowed that hot start. And again, you know, our shortcoming truly was just that R&D section. So if anybody has any questions, now would be a great time. Thank you so much for listening.
Good job, Team One. Would you unshare your screen? So your presentation was 8 minutes and 48 seconds. I guess I'll blame Whitney not being there coaching y'all. So we're gonna go with Miss Taylor, Holden, and Mr. Bill.
Great job on the presentation. I really liked your explanation of the analysis. I thought that was really insightful, and I felt like I knew everything that you were doing. I really thought that the creation of Wellside, it felt a little bit busy, and I was trying to look at the two different graphs and maybe break that up and just kind of transfer to the next slide while you're talking. And then a question I have for you guys is, do you think you have any transferable skills that you learned from this project that you can implement in the real world?
Yes, absolutely. I definitely think that there are a lot of transferable skills. Mainly the one that I see the most is that beginning hot start, right? That don't take time to kind of ease into the market. Don't take time to let other teams get ahead of you, right? Better to be in front than behind and have to catch up. And so really just going at it full force just to begin is a really one thing that I'll take into account as like I move forward into whatever industry I go for. There's only one way to get started, right? So
thank you. Holton.
So you had 100% market share of the youth bike, I guess, or something like that. Is that because no one else entered that market, or did they enter the market and they just didn't sell anything?
Yeah. So in the beginning, our first quarter, I believe we had 7 or 8 bikes in the very beginning. And so we dominated the beginning from this, dominated the market share for the first multiple quarters. I believe the youth segment, we were in front for, we were 100% for the first 2 quarters. Certainly the first quarter. I'm not sure if the second quarter there was a team that introduced a youth bike or not. But either way, it took so long for them to catch up to that dominance. And so that was kind of like the overall gist of what we were trying to get at there.
Mr. Shanahan.
I think it was a good presentation. I think you guys have a grasp of what went on or were able to articulate it. I will agree with Taylor that anytime you can use pictures instead of charts, you're probably better off. Speaking of a guy who actually has a chart company. So we use pictures as much as possible because people don't like those charts. So was there any time that you felt like that maybe one of the team members would have been better in a different role than the role that they had?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, from my perspective, right, just overseeing the team, I thought we placed them pretty well. The other good thing about like small teams like this is it's pretty cohesive. Everyone kind of talks and decides for every single decision made, and we all kind of bounce it off one another. And then once we decide as a team, each person takes over that individual task after separation. So I think as far as that goes, we were pretty well divided. Looking back on it, I think I'm pretty happy with how it went.
One thing I'll share with you, and I know Taylor knows this. I have an assignment called Judgment Day. What is Judgment Day? So in life, some people slack, some people not giving all the work, and some people call it net. So this is the one I call it a team peer review. So in that, the simulation gives a quantitative. They ask them to rank each other on several areas. They get a quantitative. Out of 5, you got 3. You need to figure out what that does. But on the inside, I do a qualitative. Why I give it's a survey form. Why I ask them, what is it? How would you rank your team? Why would you rank that team? How would you rank yourself? Why? How would you rank? What would be the rank in order of each of those persons? And nobody can tie. And so I force them to make some decisions. And so that's the one grade in the class. 10 grade is not going to be the same, because if you're not contributing, it's anonymous. Students tell the truth. They tell the truth, and that is the one grade that's different in the 10 grade in terms of this thing. So that's why I call it Judgment Day, because that's the way. And people tell the truth. You know who's performing, and you know how the team perform based on that. So that is one of the things I think is top notch. Most people don't do that, but we do that in the business school. We do not call it Judgment Day. So let's give team one a hand. Give them a virtual response. Okay. All right. Our next team. So Bill, this is and Taylor knows, because Taylor was ranked in the top 90 percentile. So this simulation is called Marketplace Live. It's done across the world and is able to compare past teams. I think over 900. And we've been in the 90s, and the team the winning team was also in the 90s percentile across the country. And that team is Team 3. Team 3, you're up.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen. Okay, so as Dr. Green said, we are Team 3 and our company name was Petals. I'm Dakota Jones, and then we also have Kaylin, Lance, and Katie Sebastian. So in this presentation, we're gonna go over our company overview and then our marketing strategy, our results, and some lessons learned, and then ending with our conclusion. So this is our company. As I said before, our name is Petals, and we had our motto was to gracefully pedal through life. And so I am Dakota Jones. I was the president. Katie Sebastian was the vice president of marketing, and Kaylin Lance was the vice president of finance. So I'm going to pass it on to Kaylin.
Yeah, so kind of a little bit about our marketing strategy. Dakota and I have been through a very similar simulation before, so we knew what kind of worked well for teams, and that was to invest in quick expansion. That's exactly what we did. Each round, we were trying to open at least one store, sometimes more, just to make sure that we're not just overloading the market with a bunch of just kind of average bikes. That's a very huge learning curve in this simulation. The very first few quarters, your bikes are usually doing okay, but there's always constant revisions to be made each quarter. Usually you don't get good brand judgments until about the quarters 3 or 4. So we knew that that's not really what we wanted to do. We wanted to make sure that we were opening stores fast. And we stopped opening stores after quarter 5. We had 6 stores open, as you can see to the graph on the right. And once it was quarter 5, R&D decisions became available. They weren't even a thing before quarter 5. So once that hit, we knew that was something that we wanted to invest in. Instead of opening up more and more stores, we wanted to kind of start being profitable, invest in those R&D decisions, and make those brand judgments go up. And we also invested higher in regional, local, and social media advertising. There was sometimes the simulation will tell you if your advertising is excessive, which we had sometimes in the regional advertising department. So it was always a constant kind of balancing act there. And if you want to go ahead, Dakota. So kind of our results, we did finish first overall. We ended with 57% of the total market share, which is outstanding. We had the highest brand judgment in 4 out of 5 segments, and we had the highest rated ads in 4 out of 5 segments. If you look to the right, those are the kind of the badges that the simulation will give you as your team earns them. The first one was we won, first place team, 10% worldwide, which is outstanding. And if you look at the bottom where I've highlighted all the different segments that it'll rate you on your balanced scorecard, the only one that we didn't finish top in was the cumulative investment in the future. And that was because we stopped investing and opening up more and more stores. At the beginning, whenever we were investing in 1 or 2 stores each quarter, we were always the highest in that segment. And as we stopped, that started kind of going down and down and down. And I will pass it on to Katie.
Well, I'm going to go first, but we're going to go over some lessons that each of us learned. So I learned how to make risky financial decisions with the help of Kaylin. She really wanted us to start out like going off the bat and investing in different stores to make sure we can open them. And then we made sure we had dominating bike brands. So I was in charge of creating the bikes and just understanding the customer's wants and needs, and being able to put that in a brand really helped me understand how I can understand customers.
And I learned how important it was for different departments to understand the strategy for the strategy to work cohesively. What the beauty of this, as James said earlier, was it is a small group. So you're able to kind of bounce ideas off of each other. So it is a very cohesive type of an environment. So making sure that you understand that your decisions are affecting somebody else's decisions. So if you're not on the same page, it's not going to work out the way you want it to, was a really huge learning curve for me.
I learned how to communicate efficiently and trust my teammates' decisions. This is my first simulation, so I wasn't completely sure if I agreed with everything they did, but I did learn that trust is very important in all aspects of life, and that what they said, they've been through the simulation before, and what they said was probably for the best. And then in our conclusion, we did finish top 90 percentile across the nation, as Dr. Green said. We tested a strategy and stuck with it throughout the end of the simulation, and that's what helped us finish strong. It was close the whole time. In the beginning, we decided to be liberal with our money, and we spent more conservatively towards the end and build our profit. We took the risk and had fun. And now we are going to be open for questions.
So let me just say, so each of the teams, except for team 2, was given 7 minutes. The rest of the teams had 6 minutes to present. Team 3 presented 4 minutes and 17 seconds. So we're going to go with Holden, Shanahan, and Kylie.
So I've been saving this question. You alluded to it. You do this similar simulation in the intro to marketing class. How is this one different in this class?
So this one, we did not have R&D investments in intro to marketing. And also we had to pay for our market research. And that was different too, because if you didn't pay for market research, you couldn't see what teams were doing in different areas of the world. So that's where it was kind of different. And it also was harder on designing brands because it was more strict on what people wanted.
Got it.
Okay. Thank you. Shanahan.
Well, it sounds like you guys had a challenging deal. Was there ever a point in the process that you felt like the data didn't make sense, but you trusted it anyway?
Yes. So in the beginning, team 1, they actually had every market share. Like we had like 3% in the beginning, first 2 quarters. So that was a little challenging, and we didn't understand why, because we had bikes and we were open up in places. So that's kind of why we decided to be more liberal with our money, because we wanted to make sure that we could get ahead of them. And so we were a little worried because we were spending a lot of money and we were in debt until quarter 4, but I guess you got to spend a little more to make some, so.
And Kylie.
Do you think in quarter 7 that you guys would still come in first place? Because I know 2 teams were really close.
So we became first place in quarter 7, but can you repeat your question again? I was confused.
Here, I'll take it, Dakota.
Okay, sorry.
I will say, I think around quarter 5 is when we kind of started sneaking up. And by quarter 7, we had gained a absurd amount of the market share, where we were even questioning, how are we taking this much? We didn't even really know at first. And so I think that really getting to see these answers of what other teams were doing, I can guarantee it was probably teams not investing so much in R&D, because our brands were doing so much better, and so they were selling more. And so I don't know, I think if other teams had invested more in R&D, it probably would have been a lot closer. But in quarter 7 and 8, we had just an absurd amount of the total market share.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask one question. Does any student have any comments? Come on, they all leave. I think they all left. Okay, so I'm gonna ask the presidents, what new skills as lead? What was the biggest challenge being a leader, and how did you position your teams in terms of core competencies, putting people in the right places so they can be successful? And I'm gonna go with Taryn, James, and then Dakota. So what sticks out in your mind about being a team leader?
I think what sticks out in my mind is gaining your team's trust and showing them that you have the leadership qualities to even do it in the first place. And then working together as a team all starts from communication. So if you don't have that trust and you can't communicate with them, it's really hard to move forward. And I think that our team did it really well as when it came to listening to everybody. And I think that is a very real life skill that we can all take out of this. Good job, team.
James?
Yeah, so first of all, I'd say it makes the leader's job really easy when you have great teams. I know for me, I was really happy with my team. I felt like each of them did a really great job in their section. Like I said earlier, right, it didn't end how we wanted it to, but through 5 or 6 quarters, we were very happy with it. We just made one very fatal decision, right? But that being said, as a leader, the main things, that I take away is be the organized one, be on top of it, and be able to just communicate not only well, but carefully with your team. And that way everyone knows that like you're on the same page, you're on the same team, no criticism is too critical or abrasive, I should say. And those are my takeaways for sure. Again, I can't emphasize enough. It makes my life a whole lot easier having such a wonderful team. So thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, team 1, team 3.
I was a little worried at first because we only had 3 people, but I think Kaylin and Katie did an amazing job. And I think one of my biggest struggles was being able to take into account that they have better ideas than me most times. So just listening to them and make sure that we all are on the same base and like we all know what we're doing. And also I didn't know much about finance. So Kaylin really helped me there because I knew I could put my trust in her on the finance portion and she would do it right and she would know what she was doing and she could explain it to us. And so it wasn't only me communicating with my teammates, but it was also them communicating back. So thank you.
Good deal. So we're gonna have our wrap up with our reviewers. Let's give them a virtual applause because they did a great job. Give them something. Look what I gave them. Look what I gave because I care. I love them. Okay. So we're gonna start with Miss Taylor. So Miss Taylor graduated last year. So she sat in that and I'm telling you, she crushed the other team. She said she wanted to win. So I want to get her perspective on what, a year out and maybe some comments to help. And then we're going to have Mr. Shanahan and we're going to wrap it up with Dr. Holden.
Great job, everybody. I think, again, it just comes down to making your own analysis about the simulation and kind of using like outside research. I think what put my team ahead a few years ago when I did the simulation was kind of making our own spreadsheet and putting in our own numbers. And it was kind of like a cost profit analysis. And so that's what really helped us. But it looks like everybody did a wonderful job and it's cool to be back and sitting kind of like on the other side of things. So congratulations, everybody.
Tell them what you're doing now and where.
So I actually just resigned from Tricor Communications. I'm actually in the middle of starting my own business.
Get out of here.
So I'll be back in a few months with more information right now because it'll launch pretty soon, but things are going really well and I'm really excited.
Hey, I got a lot of people that need help. So give me some electronic. I got tons of people that they in a ditch, so they need help.
For sure, yeah. I'm doing a lot of freelance right now too.
Then we have the wise OBU grad, Mr. Shanahan. Help him out, man. Give him some pointers. Take away from this for today.
Well, first of all, you guys did a great job. As far as real life lessons, I'm pretty sure none of you are going to run a bicycle company. Just, letting you know.
Come on, Bill. Come on now. Be nice. Somebody's going to do
that. Here's the thing, the way you learn to work with one another will take you further than any bicycle company. The fact that you're able to, as leaders, recognize when you need to provide encouragement and when you need to provide them the loose reins is going to be a huge thing as you go into business. And so I think if you need an example, just the fact that Taylor's going to be starting her own business, that's a strong thing. That's a hard thing to do and a scary thing to do, because there's a lot to it that no one ever tells you about. And it comes up usually as a surprise. And so I think you guys did a great job. I think you learned more on the mechanics, but I think the most valuable lessons will be how you learn to work with one another.
Amen. Thank you. And Bill has, he was in the class as a guest, but also he's mentored. Bill was a mentor to Kaylin. So that was great. We love you, Bill, man. And now we'll have our respected, highly regarded leader at Oklahoma Baptist University, none other than Dr. David Holt.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna say my heart goes out to the team that finished second. When I was in my MBA program, we went through a rigorous simulation and my team was in first all the way until that last round and we fell to second. So I feel your pain, guys. But just know in the world, we're not in a simulation. So there's always another round and you can keep fighting it out there in the competitive world. And for the team that's on first, congratulations. These guys will be at your heels next round too. So in a competitive world, it's not the past that matters so much as the present and the future you're looking for. So good job, everyone. I hope you learned a lot from the simulation. And then of course, just from the dynamics of working in a team.
So this is being recorded. So you can be rest assured if you come back from homecoming, somebody's going to be talking about this presentation, about these presentations, because this is the backbone of what we do. So I want you guys to have a wonderful and blessed day. Remember, next week we do have final exams. You don't show up, you might not pass the class. I'm just being honest. Okay. So you guys have a good one. Have a great day.